Do you see, oops, that's a little fast. Does everybody see, oh my. Can you just give me a little thumbs up? Do you see just the slide, or do you see the Zoom chat and the participants and the cameras too?
You see everything.
You see everything. Okay, so
right now.
if I move these things off, is that better?
It's the participant settings. So you can close the speaker and just close the gallery and just focus on your screen.
Like that?
We have to.
Oh.
You don't have to do anything.
Oh, okay. Okay. So if I can see your faces. I just want to make sure I could see you, but you didn't have to be looking at all the faces. Does that make sense? No, right. Okay, let's jump in. So I think universally we can all accept that change is hard. And pre-COVID, when clients would invite me into their home to help them bring about some change, sometimes they would still struggle with the change that I might be proposing. And I think right now we are all really trying to find our new normal. And the experience of losing our in-person contact and having to replicate it with this remote contact is feeling a little awkward, but I think we're getting better at it. We've had about, 5 months of this now. And the environment that we are in is or isn't fulfilling half of that communication experience that we are used to when we are in an office setting. So I've worked from home for about 15 years, and an important part of what I do is so personal that I always had to do it from my clients' homes. And it's the purpose of it is to get to know them and how they live and how they interact with their space and what they like and what they don't like and what their personality is, most importantly, because that's the goal, is to get their personality into their space. And that loss of that in-person communication and needing to take measures to compensate and replicate that as much as possible is also not just in our casual conversations, but in our professional conversations. So getting that, background, we've all tried that quick and dirty solution of Lisa Francine has that great coffee shop background for her, is really pretty, and being able to have a lovely room behind you. Or I've seen the GIFs where people will have like a beach scene and waves coming in. That's always really lovely to watch, but it may not be necessarily the professional image that we're trying to convey when we're talking or presenting to our boss's boss necessarily. And every little nuance and discrepancy that's picked up, no matter how subtle, creates a distraction. So the light that's, coming in, behind you, or in the image behind you, it looks like the light is coming from this way. That can throw off the eye just enough. The acoustics can throw us and cause a little bit of dissonance. The physical discomfort that you might be feeling if you're not sitting in a comfortable chair or in a comfortable place, and your body language, every time you get distracted, all of that is detracting from the attention on you and the message that you're trying to send. So, and even in those cases where you really are successful at fooling the spectator, you're not fooling you. Like, you're sitting at a little rickety folding table in a hallway, or sitting on your bed, worst case. So it just doesn't feel professional. And so I just wanted to ask some of you guys, how many of you worked from home all the time pre-COVID? Did anybody, I give you a little thumbs up in your Zoom controls there? I was just curious, did anybody work from home. I know from my clients, like it really wasn't very often. Everybody was doing work at night from home, but not all day, regular basis kind of thing. And how many of you are working from home now? Give me a thumbs up. It's like Julie, yeah. Is everybody else then is still going into an office? Oh, Jerry, you are. Okay, yeah. And how many of you, so this is my really curious question, how many of you feel like, or getting the message or starting to believe that your company won't have staff returning to an office at any point in the future? I don't know if anybody's starting to get that message from their corporate office yet or not. My husband works for Dell and they have given move-out dates. They probably won't be going back to an office. And really, you know, as a big company, like once you realize that a significant part of your workforce can do just the same job for you without you having to pay for maintenance on those buildings, the heating, the air conditioning, the taxes, why would you continue to put money into those, right? Really. So the remedy, the biggest part of any design project is the planning phase. And to get started just with something as simple as one little room, one home office, the first thing you want to do is make a physical list. And of course, a lot of these things are probably already in your head, but make a list of everything that's not working. What's causing the most pain, you know, but take a couple days. Like the way you feel on Monday might be very different than some of the things you're encountering by Friday or Saturday if you work several days in a row. So write those things out, right? Oh, you know, by late Wednesday, my eyes are starting to burn, or my neck is tight, or whatever these things are. And also consider your workflow as you're writing down that list. Start thinking about your workflow and how do you do what you do and what could make that work easier. So one of the biggies that I ask no matter what I'm designing is handedness. What's your dominant hand, right or left? And making sure that in that final layout that the person that I'm putting in that particular spot the majority of the time, if they're a lefty, their things are available on the left. Your efficiency, obviously, like those things that you're reaching for every day, a couple times a day, are they right there, or are they 4 steps away where you got to trot over there and grab them and then trot them back over there and put them away? And any other, you know, tools or technology you might need to make the job easier. Also, when it comes to making a change, one of the best parts about bringing change into your life is that it gives you the perfect opportunity to create a change for the better and eliminate some of those bad habits and those reflexes that we all have. So, you know, if you are not a particularly good person at being, you know, staying focused or are easily distracted, figuring out how to design the space to help eliminate all of that, little things that can throw you off and pull your attention away. Even if it's not necessarily for your viewer, if it's for you, right? Figure out what your inclination is for your motion. Are you, you know, one of those people that can sit in a chair for 4 hours and then get up once and then sit back down for 4 hours? You know, when it comes to your health, like maybe a standing desk or a yoga ball or whatever that can help give you a little more movement in the day. And then here's the biggie that I think most people are struggling with, probably the hardest. It's, you know, like I said, I've been doing this from home for about 15 years and it's still hard, is the ability to turn off the work brain and turn on the personal brain. So it's hard enough when you go to an office and work there and then come home and things pop into your head and you're like, oh yeah, I'm just going to do that one little email. And, but when it's right there next to you, it's on your kitchen table or it's on your sofa or in your bedroom, or like, it's really hard to feel like, nope, work is done. And now I am, you know, focusing on family and my personal life. So figure out how that design can enable you to do that maybe a little bit easier, whatever that may be. once you kind of gathered all these things that you want and things that you need, you're going to figure out what are the absolute mandates. What are the things that you are deal breakers? You will not make this change without getting. So, you know, considering your ergonomics for your health and for your efficiency, where these things live, you know, are they on the left or on the right? Are they right there, you know, on top of the counter? Are they in a drawer, right, easily accessible? Your work surface, how much space do you need? Like, do you have papers you need to spread out? Do you have, you know, samples? Like I have lots of little pieces of things that I need to spread out and be able to see easily and grab easily. But not just on your work surface. The other work surface now is our screens. So do we have digital images and documents that we need to be able to see? Very often, almost always one screen isn't enough. Sometimes two isn't enough. So 3 screens, is that something that's really going to make life easier for you? Storage, obviously, and not just generic storage, but what's being stored. Are these hanging files? Are these binders? Are these books? Are these, in my case, baskets or boxes of things that I need to have easily accessible? And how often do I need to reach them, right? If I'm in that filing cabinet several times a day, it needs to be right here. You know, over there is actually a little too far. Lighting is a really big one, I think, that gets overlooked in a lot of design plans. How you know, lighting for function, right? So you have enough light, ample light for lighting the surfaces so you can see clearly, but also lighting for your mood or your health. The color of that light plays a big part. Kelvin is a measurement now that they're putting on light bulbs, but my favorite is the Hue light bulb. Oh my goodness. And you don't have to put them in every lamp. You've just got to put them in those critical ones that are right where you are. I love them because you can program them to start dimming at a certain time of night, which will help, at least in my brain, helps me realize, oh yeah, I've been in the office for 12 hours. I should probably start thinking about getting out of here. And they can shut off at a certain time. So like once I realize, oh yeah, it's dark. It is way too late for me to be working. So I need to go see the family. And they can change the color of the light. So same way with your screens, having that preset, that blue light filter, so it automatically comes on and starts to tone back the blue light that's coming in and telling us to stay awake and alert. Can help us start to unwind at the end of the day. It's easier to go to sleep. And then primarily lighting so that, again, to figure out how to replicate that in-person contact so that people can see you clearly and read your expressions and feel like it's more of a conversation and a one-to-one than, than, oh, there's a dark figure over there that I'm trying to connect with and get a message across to. And so the same goes for acoustics. If someone has to struggle to hear, or if there's ambient noise, it's distraction, or if it's echoey, or if the speaker is kind of tinny, all of those things, we want it to sound more like an in-person conversation. So if you wear jewelry, like I tend to do, and it's loud on the keyboard, or if you just have a noisy keyboard and it's clickety click click, the dog whimpering at the door, or people just walking, loud feet and footsteps and shoes, all of those things need to be changed and addressed in that final design. And then lastly, also other people, not just noise that they might be making, but visual background movement. So, people that live in like apartment or condo situations, if there's a window behind them and you can see your neighbors walking into their places, or even if it's just, the backyard and the kids are jumping on the trampoline, like all of that's going to be minimizing and distracting when you're trying to give information in a presentation and keep people's attention. So getting really clear on what are those requirements that you have to have, and what are the things that you absolutely want to make sure you eliminate, from the struggle. That's going to help you choose the best possible space for your home office solution there. So another quick question, how many of you, since there weren't many that worked from home before, how many of you do have a dedicated home office? Is there anybody that has something that's been a home office from the get-go? No, maybe not, huh? And
I have a dedicated area.
yeah, exactly. It doesn't always have to be a separate room. Absolutely. Yeah. So you've got one. That's great. And is it working for you, Julie?
No.
No. Yeah. There's always a concession, right? There's always something that isn't quite ideal. So how many of you have like a temporary, like kind of a makeshift now that you are having to work from home?
My sister just typed it in. My sister's Jerry, by the way.
Oh, I didn't realize. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
she
yeah,
just, she just made her own office. I don't have room for that.
Yeah. Where's chat? Oh, Hugh. Yeah. So Hugh, thank you, Lisa. Yeah. So you found something temporary that works for you, Jerry?
It's permanent now because I'll be home a couple days a week, far as I know. So at least.
Okay. Yeah. And is your, so yeah, my thing went way too fast. Is your space gonna work when you are those just a couple days home from the office?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's in the second
good.
bedroom. I took over a corner of it where
Yeah, good.
my
That's-
grandkids' room before was covered with toys. I was going to wait like 10 years and then, redo it. I had to do it right away. So
Right.
I
I
was on
know.
the kitchen table at first, and it was awful. I was in pain. My back hurt.
Yeah, I was shocked at how many people were suffering with cruddy chairs.
Oh yeah.
It's tough. That's tough. Judy, good to see you. Hi, darling. So selecting your location. Let me just start this over again, honestly. So selecting the location. Very often I find that, and we all do this, we get used to seeing what we're seeing in our home, and it's hard to think differently about those spaces. So when people say they don't have enough room, one of the first spaces that we usually talk about is their dining room, because dining rooms are one of those spots that are prime real estate in a house. They're usually a decent size, and they might get used 10 hours at a whack, maybe 3 times a year, like really minimum use for that kind of square footage. So taking that space and using it in different ways is usually one of the easiest ways, but people just don't think about doing that because it's a dining room. It must stay a dining room, but really it's just a room. And usually the location is such that it's, you've got good vantage points. Often you can put doors up to help make it feel a little bit more separate from the rest of the house, but it's still big enough to be multifunctional. So that when you do need it to be a dining room, you can figure out how to turn it back into a dining room, or something that functions enough to be a dining room. Other spaces, guest rooms, or those are kind of obvious ones. And very often my clients will have people that are coming on a regular basis and they really don't feel like, the guest room is a viable option. But when you start weighing how many hours you're working and how many hours, again, the guest is needing that space, if that's once a week for a night, as opposed to 5 or 6 days a week for an office, maybe we can find another alternative for that guest room, for that guest when they're there. Also, I find a lot of homes are built with family rooms, living rooms, and a den. So we've got TVs all over, we've got people spread all over just for their casual downtime. So consolidate some of that. Maybe, leave the family room, but take that more formal living space and turn that into an office. Very often there is a walk-in closet that doesn't necessarily have to be holding all the extras that we have. I know my house here, the master has 2 walk-in closets, and we only use one for our clothes. The other one holds like the luggage and extra sheets and Halloween costumes. But it's a big enough footprint. Like, you don't need a lot of room, so that that would work really well as an office, believe it or not. And Pinterest is full of all those transformations. The other thing that I think a lot of people are just starting to realize is some really valuable real estate is their garage. Cars don't have to live in a garage. Yes, it's highly convenient, and I love having my car in the garage, But if I was that cramped and needed some space at home, I would start figuring out how to start jiggling some stuff. So often the answer is a holistic one. And that means every room in the house is up for play and rejiggling and reconfiguring how you use all that space. Another thing that I've thought about that I think would work really well for relatively inexpensive, considering it's a completely separate space, would be those prefab sheds. Those 8x10 sheds, I mean, what are they, like $5,000 maybe? And all you gotta do is insulate and sheetrock, and you have a completely separate office space on your property. You can run an extension cord out there if you have to, like get a Wi-Fi repeater and go out there and work. And then when you leave, you can leave. Like, it's much harder to trot out to another, outbuilding later in the day once you've decided your workday is over. So that really helps with the inability to shut down and separate, work life from life. And then making any of those spaces that you might be turning into office, arrange them and design that plan in such a way that they can do double duty, right? They don't have to feel Frankenstein-y to be able to serve more than one master in all the needs that you need for your house. So, so the process, once you really know what you're going to do and how you want to, what the requirements are for that space and where you're going to put it. Just looking at the, at the notes here, folding desks, wall desks. So yeah, standing desks and those that mount on the wall, that's what I'm talking to you at right now. I designed this standing desk and I really love it. It is so narrow. Now granted, I could probably use a little more counter space because I have a lot of stuff, but for most people, if everything you do is predominantly digital, this whole thing is probably 20 inches. Like, you could almost put this in a laundry room or in a hallway or somewhere really small, and it would work great. My lights are mounted right on here. I've got my second monitor, my laptop, just enough space on both sides. But I don't know of any sources in particular, if that's what you were asking, Lisa. But it's the ergonomic tweaks that are going to make it more or less successful than any other desk. So knowing your height and your elbow height when you're standing and your shoulders are down and relaxed, the measurement from the floor, if you're wearing shoes, if you would wear shoes on a regular basis when you're standing, the measurement from the floor up to your elbow, you want that keyboard height to be maybe an inch shorter than that. So you're going to measure up from the floor to your elbow, you're going to come down a half inch or inch, and then you're going to, the height of your keyboard, and that's the surface of the desk. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah, so very often a console, a bar height table can be just right, depending on the size of you. For me, every desk, every table is high. I almost have my chin on stuff, so it doesn't feel totally comfortable. But yeah, knowing your size, your frame and how you measure out. So getting that hung right. Yeah, hutches are some of the best thing. That was, and I'll talk about that in just a second. Using your wall space, that is very often overlooked. People will do a floor plan, but they don't think vertically and do the 2D elevations. So that's the first step. Once you have your mandates and all right, I need so much square footage for my desk surface, or I need so many linear feet of hanging file space. So whatever it is, whatever these needs are, measure your space and do a floor plan and figure out, okay, here's the door swing, or here's the traffic flow that comes through that room. And I highly recommend putting doors on there and being able to shut that off. But then when it's not workspace, you need to be able to have it open and still have it be easily accessible and passing through. And once you have that and you've drawn it out to scale, you want to play with every possible arrangement that still fits within those mandates that you've set. And then once you kind of feel like, okay, this is probably the best place for the desk, very often if you can put your desk facing a window, one that not only gives you really flattering natural light, but it gives your eyes a break, you know, if every once or twice an hour, if you just can look out and focus on a distance, that'll help the eyes and the brain fatigue that we get from all the screen time. So once you've got your floor plan, draw the elevations of those walls and figure out how you can maximize storage vertically and not just on your footprint. Lots of stuff can be up off the floor, and the less you have on the floor, the larger the space. It's kind of an optical illusion, but the larger the space is going to feel. So getting things elevated as much as possible, even if it's filing cabinets, but there's a leg on them, even something as minor as that can really have a big impact on how crammed or crowded that space might feel to you. But the biggest, sorry, I skipped this spot. When you are figuring out where your desk is going to be, consider your background and make sure that that is suitable for your viewers. You know, if it is that back window where, you know, everybody's trotting around on the deck, or it's constantly, you know, if you were in like a lower level apartment and it's constantly foot traffic back and forth, that might not be the best place for that desk. So keep rotating around until you find the good spot. Or window treatments can be a great solution to all kinds of problems, not just for light control, but for acoustics. It can really dampen the echo in a space, keep the glare off your screen, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, figure out your walls, analyze the lighting. So lighting is the other biggie. Make sure you have 2 lights on both sides of you at the minimum, and not in the ceiling, bringing down harsh shadows. People, you know, are going to listen to you if they feel like they can see you and you're not hiding or looking like you're giving a spooky story at a campfire. So 2 lights at least that shine the light down and diffuse the light out. So as much as like we see a lot of these really cool looking metal lampshades, they cast a very harsh shadow. So I would stick with a fabric lampshade in a color that when the light comes through, you still look like a human. And so, yeah, so task lighting, make sure it lights enough on the surface, that it's mid-level, close to your eye level, and mood lighting. So when it is the end of the day and you are trying to wind down, take advantage of that Kelvin and color and dimming capability on those lights. So yes, so once you have all these things figured out, let me share, can you see? Can you see a spreadsheet now? No, maybe not.
No spreadsheet, Jen.
Okay, let's try this.
There you go.
Okay. I love spreadsheets. I love data. I love formulas. I love all that stuff. So this may not be for everybody, but even if you use it in its basic skeleton form, it's going to be helpful. And I'll share this with you. I'll have a link if you guys want, and you can sign up and get access to these things. You're going to list out every item that you know you're going to need. And sometimes you might have something that you already can use that's going to suffice, so you don't need to list it, right? You're going to recycle, upcycle, best things. And so sometimes a desk isn't necessarily a whole desk piece of furniture. Sometimes it's a countertop, and you can have those custom made in any size you want, or you could salvage an old door or whatever. Shutters have been turned into really cute little tops. Maybe you need a piece of glass for those. But whatever work surface is, make sure that it's the size. So all these things that you're going to list, make sure you put in whatever notes you know are going to ensure that your mandates are met. You know, a desk that's too small is only going to make life aggravating. So make sure you get all of the specs in there that you need. I don't know, whatever else, like, so let's say, okay, we want at least 4 lamps and whatever you might need to do next as far as action, if you're still not totally clear on that stuff. and about what you think it's going to run. And this isn't a guesstimate, and this is really your comfort level with what you want to spend on that. And the purpose of this is not to hold you to it. It's just to help you figure out, okay, right now, here's my biggest pain points. I absolutely have to have a desk chair, and I have to have a second monitor. I don't know what a monitor costs, not a very big one. You know, I really need, I don't know, the paint. I can't look at the walls half painted anymore, whatever. So you can break things out by phase, because anytime you look at the big number, whatever that number is, it can always feel like maybe that's a little too much to swallow just right now. So breaking it out by phase, by pain point, all right, so let's say we're gonna do, you know, filing next. Bookcase can wait, we'll make that phase 3. Lamps we kind of need, but they can wait. Those, we can do fancy bulbs later. Roman shades, you know, the heat coming in is making it too uncomfortable, so let's make sure those are now. Blackout shades, you know, you can double hang your window treatments, so when this room needs to be a guest room, it can still be a comfortable place for people to sleep in. That can always happen way later. So let's just leave that out. So you can break it out by phase and start to feel out, okay, yeah, you know what, like this is something I need to do right now. This is comfortable. This feels like it's gonna make life much easier. So then you can start actually searching for these items and make sure you have the sizes of the things that you're needing. That's really important. All too often we'll see people complain, oh, it was too small. Well, you know, did you measure? I'm always surprised when I see that complaint. And so finding the particular items, when you have to buy retail, there's a lot of dangerous, scary kinds of things that can happen on the interwebs when it comes to shopping. There's a lot of fly-by-night places and a lot of questionable, you know, I wouldn't put your credit card number in places. But when it comes to searching, you want to search by size and by color usually, or style. And Wayfair is actually a pretty good one with all their filters and controls. But here's the big but: I don't recommend buying from them. Their pricing is so low that I happen to know that a lot of those things come from the returns warehouse or the scratch and dent warehouse. So and you can kind of tell by looking at the reviews. You can only give those a grain of salt, but stuff comes in damaged, and you know, or the extra like runoffs from the manufacturer. You know, they didn't pass the manufacturer's Q&A, so they sold them as seconds. So I would not recommend buying from them, but they're a great place to source and to shop from. And then try to find the same item, and you almost always can find a million other places that will sell that same item. Try to find that same item from another vendor. And if you can find a vendor that is local to you, that's hands down the easiest way to do that return. That's going to cost you the least amount of aggravation and money. So Target, right? Walmart, Lowe's, those are really great places that sell almost everything. But they don't have great filters for shopping on their sites. So it's a little bit of sleuthing, but you can find them. And then when the thing comes in damaged, and there's a lot of times where there's no damage on the outside of the box, but there's enough damage on the inside that it causes a problem, or missing parts. If you need to return it, you can just drive it over there and drop it off. It doesn't have to be, you know, sent back in its original packaging with its original blah, blah, blahs and all the hoops that they want you to jump through. If you do try to buy something online from a vendor that's not local to you, just read very carefully their damages and returns policy. Even though, you know, oh, we're buying it from Overstock, we're buying it from Amazon, not all the Amazon vendors are Amazon, so they don't have to comply with Amazon's return policies. So just be extra cautious. And if there's any doubt, like I would skip it. I would find another product. And when you're searching for these things, if you've got a couple options that you think are valuable, like, oh, this filing cabinet would work, or this one, the only way to know before you make any purchases, the only way to really know is to build a mood board. See little pictures of all these things all together, and you'll be able to tell, are they playing nicely? Are they all kind of singing the same song? Are they making the vibe that we want? Or does this one look like he's off on his own, beating his own drum and not really trying to be part of a whole for us? So that mood board comes in really handy that way. And then once you do order, keep track. Obviously, shipping is really slow right now. They have a serious lack of warm bodies to ship, and they'll hire anybody. So do not let them in your house. There's just been too many interesting, uncomfortable things that have happened with people, shippers. Have it dropped at your door, and make sure you open it immediately and inspect it. The longer it sits in the box, the less likely you have any recourse on any claims that you might need to make. So, most of us are not dilly-dallying, but a lot of people, I'm surprised, they're like, it's all in the garage. It's waiting for, somebody or other to come help me. But open it at least and check it out right away. So that's kind of the process. That's, it's definitely condensed. There's a lot of time that goes into that, but it's not rocket science, right? It's pretty straightforward. So that's the whole shebang. How did I do on time? How am I on time? Oh, I'm long.
Oh, you did great.
Sorry, I could talk all day about this.
No, John, it was very interesting. You did great.
So if anybody has questions, if there was these slides kind of went through kind of quick. If there was, some of them I wanted to kind of use to illustrate how you can get a desk into like a living room situation and not have it feel completely bizarre. I don't know how to skip through these, but any questions about this stuff? Did I make sense? No?
It made a lot of sense. You did a great job.
Very sweet. Thank you, Julie.
I just wish I had more space.
Yeah, honestly, so here's actually this,
Trying to create space with one desk is really hard.
yeah, this room right here that we're looking at, this is an efficiency apartment. And so this kitchen table, seriously, like this might be 10 feet across.
It's still showing the spreadsheet.
Oh, whoops. All right, let me fix myself. Here we go. This guy right here. So this kitchen table is having to do multiple things because this is an efficiency. Like it is super, super tiny. Let me try to find another. So here's a desk. This is actually a good sized desk, work surface in a living room. This is not a particularly big first floor main living space in this house. And even if I couldn't get that desk in there, I made sure that the kitchen space was comfortable enough that, the couple of kids could do homework there. So that could also be an office space if the kids don't need to be doing homework there. I think what else do we have? Here's actually a very small office that also has the washer and dryer in it. This is the laundry room. So the washer and dryer are hidden below a counter in some cabinetry here. Let me get to this next. Behind the desk. I left this curtain open. You can kind of peekaboo in there and see that's the washer and dryer. So at night, it's a laundry room. In the day, it's an office space. So, double duty again. Not a lot of, this is a very small office. This one was probably 8 feet across at the point where this desk is. And I think it was like 12 or 14 long. It was not very big. And thankfully, most of our work is digital, so we don't need a lot of surface space. There's just another view of that. It was just big enough. I think that's a 5-foot desk, and I've got like 2.5 feet on the side here. It's not a lot of room. Here's another living room with a desk in it and a bank of filing cabinets behind it. I have another shot. Yeah, so there's the desk with the filing cabinets in this condo. This is a good sized condo. There was plenty of space to split this up. But yeah, using the desk as a console table, you don't need a lot of room for your chair necessarily. It's not like it's has lots of movement. Here, I put a couple homework stations and a kitchen, and this is the door to the back deck. So this used to be their kitchen table space, but they never sat at the kitchen table, they sat at the island. So kitchen table was useless. So we got a bunch of storage and tucked them in over on this side wall and made this a more useful entrance for them coming in because their driveway was in the back on the side over here. But yeah, it doesn't have to be a big, I mean, and yeah, like I said, Pinterest is full of those images of people turning closets into office spaces, and it can be very successful if it's planned out right. And it's the acoustics and the lighting that can be tricky, and the view behind you that those three things I think are probably some of the things that can easily not get addressed in the design and then feel like, oh, I have to figure this out after the fact. That can make it harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, functionality is my favorite. I love those hard spaces. I love kitchens and bathrooms and spaces that really have to work hard to get stuff done for us. I could talk about it all day. Sorry, it's
Well,
kind of
you
boring.
once told me you need to make a plan and then do it, and I always did it ass backwards.
Yeah,
I
and
thought all
most
the
of
stuff and then tried to do it, and
yeah,
Oh,
most
I said it. Hang on.
that's totally common. That is where most people come at it. They're like, oh, I'm going to go shopping and find something and bring it home instead of starting at home and figuring out what you need and then go find the pieces that fit that.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's less stressful. You're more guaranteed to stay on budget and less be taken in by a sale on something that isn't necessarily meeting all those mandates, or or falling in love with something just out of passion, which a lot of people are passion shoppers, and then realizing, oh, it's completely not functional.
that's what happened. I think the first thing I bought when I moved to this tiny apartment was the desk. Because I saw the desk at a secondhand place and I loved it, so I bought it, not even knowing, how much I was gonna need it. And
Right. Just how much part of your, how many hours of your day is spent
I
there.
thought I was gonna stick a computer on it and do my bills on it, and that was it. But
Right. Yeah. Honestly, so filing cabinets, making sure they're the right height for you when you're seated in your chair. Again, measure from the floor to your elbow and then go down an inch or so. And then a piece of countertop. Like desks don't have to be, a desk to be super functional for you and give you that work surface that you need and fit exactly in the size of space that you can allocate to it. And it's, even there's some really gorgeous laminates out there, believe it or not, and really inexpensive places that will make you a laminate countertop exactly the size that you want, or fabric. I mean, most of our work surfaces don't need to be hard surfaces. They could be an upholstered hollow core door or something, right? They don't have to be, we're not cooking food on this. This is the desk, right?
as you were talking, I was looking and thinking, if I got rid of this desk and got a file cabinet, and then I could get something wide to function as the desk, and yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, tape measure. Your tape measure is your best friend.
Yeah.
It's like an appendage. You can't live without it. Take it everywhere. Put it in your purse. You'll love it. Yeah. Oh, fun. Well, I appreciate you guys sticking out for all my chatty blather. It was nice to have you. Thank you so much.
Jen, thank you for talking to us about this topic. It was very informative and
Yeah, thank
fun.
you.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So does anyone have any more questions for Jen before we end the session?
No,
I don't think
it
so.
was very helpful.
It was very helpful.
Thanks for joining us. And Jen, thank you again.
Thank you. I would love feedback if you guys have any comments or thoughts, or please, I'm always looking to improve and want to hear how it went and what maybe I missed or glossed over or could have talked more on. I'd love that. I'd appreciate it.
I think Lisa sends us something, right, Lisa?
I send a survey about the
Oh.
program, but it doesn't really have any info about the presenter.
Yeah.
But if people want to email me, I can send it to you, Jen, if they want to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. You can forward it, or Inviting into Your Style is my website, somewhere at the end of my slides here.
Yeah, I already wrote it down.
So yeah, reach out to me. There's a way to schedule a phone call, or my email's on there too. So
Okay.
all right. Well,
Yeah,
thank you guys. I appreciate it. Have a lovely evening.
Thank
Okay,
you
thank
all.
you.
Thank
Cool
you.
enough to go outside now.
You know.
Take care.
Thanks. Take care.